In a world that often feels disconnected, uncertain, and overwhelming, there has never been a more important time to come back to love. I'm Robyn Vogel, psychotherapist, relationship expert, love and intimacy coach, and the author of Come Back to Love, A Path to Healing. You can find that anywhere you can purchase books online. For over 20 years, I've been sitting with people in their most tender, courageous moments, the heartbreaks, the longing, the walls they've built around their hearts, and the quiet hope that real love is still possible. I want to tell you that it is. This show is a sanctuary, a place to heal the past, reconnect with yourself, and fall in love again. With your life, with others, and most importantly, with yourself. Welcome to Come Back to Love on KMET, your ABC News radio affiliate. Come Back to Love radio show airs in Southern California on KMET 1490 AM and 98.1 FM. And you can listen to it afterwards anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. I want to start today with a scenario. Someone does something kind for you. Maybe they pay for your coffee. Maybe they say, "You look beautiful today." Maybe they offer to help you with something you've been struggling with alone. Maybe someone, a partner, a date, a friend says, "Let me take care of that for you." And something in you, instead of simply saying thank you and letting it land, deflects. "Oh, you didn't have to do that. I'm fine, really. Don't worry about me. I can handle it. I'm okay. I can do it myself." Or you immediately think about how to return the favor, how to balance the ledger, how to make sure you're not, what's the word? A burden. Sound familiar? Last week, we talked about over-giving, the pattern of giving so much in relationship that you exhaust yourself, attract takers, and quietly build a wall of resentment underneath all your generosity. Today, we're going to the other side of that coin because here's what nobody talks about: over-giving and the inability to receive. Those two things are the same wound, two sides of the same story, and you cannot heal one without addressing the other. I'm Robyn Vogel. This is Come Back to Love on KMET, and today we're going to talk about one of the most underrated skills in love and relationships and in life: how to actually receive. Let me ask you something that I genuinely want you to sit with. When someone offers you something, help, a compliment, care, love, what happens in your body? For a lot of people, especially high achieving, emotionally intelligent, self-sufficient people, and you know who you are, and I know you're out there because you're the ones who listen to a show like this, receiving doesn't feel so good. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like owing someone something. It feels like being seen in a vulnerable way that isn't entirely safe. It feels like too much. And most people never stop to ask why. Well, here's what I've learned. The inability to receive is almost always rooted in one of three things. The first is a belief that love is conditional. If you grew up in an environment, and this doesn't have to be dramatic, it can be subtle, where love came with strings attached, where affection was given when you performed well, behaved correctly, didn't make waves, took care of others' needs first, where love felt like something you earned rather than something you simply had, then receiving without earning feels wrong, unsafe, like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So you deflect it, you minimize it, you immediately try to earn it retroactively by giving something back. Sound familiar? The second root is a belief that needing makes you a burden. This is a big one. This is really big for people. Nobody wants to be quote unquote needy, right? It's got a really bad rep in our culture. Maybe you got the message early, directly or indirectly, that your needs were too much, that asking for help was a weakness, that the people in your life were too overwhelmed, too unavailable, or too fragile to hold your needs. I definitely got this message. So you learn to need less, to handle it, to be the strong one, to be the independent one, to be the resilient one. We talked about this a lot last week. If you didn't catch that radio show, please go to SoundCloud or any of the podcast platforms and play last week's episode. And now, okay, again, you learn to need less, you learn to handle it, you learn to be strong and resilient and take care of yourself and all of that, and you don't want to be needy. But now someone offers to help you, and instead of feeling relieved, you feel guilty, exposed, like you're somehow failing, that you've somehow failed by not managing everything on your own, or not managing that one thing on your own. Okay, the third root, and this is the one that is most invisible, I think, to that, is that receiving requires presence. Think about that for a moment. When you give something to someone or you do something for people, you're the one in control. You decide what to give, when to give, how much. Giving is active. Giving is doing, and doing is where you feel most safe. Receiving is the opposite. Receiving requires you to stop, be still, let someone in, let something in, to be affected by another person. And for someone who learned early that being affected, being moved, being open, being reached was dangerous, that stillness can be terrifying. So we keep moving, we keep giving, we keep doing, because as long as we're the one giving, we never have to be that vulnerable. I want to say something very clearly here, and I want you to hear it. This is not a character flaw. This is not selfishness in reverse. This is protection. A very, very understandable, very human protection against a pain that was once very real. But it also is also, and I can say this with enormous compassion, one of the primary reasons real intimacy stays just out of reach. Because intimacy is not a one-way street. Love cannot flow between two people if one of them has learned to be a closed vessel and give and give and give and not receive. You can give and give and give. And if you cannot receive, love cannot actually reach you. I actually wrote a whole chapter in my book, Come Back to Love, A Path to Healing, on receiving. If you haven't seen the book or heard of the book, you can find it, of course, on Amazon. Also, on my website, comebacktolove.com, you can download the first chapter for free. So go ahead and do that. Comebacktolove.com, just all spelled out. And right there at the top of the page, it says download your free chapter, start reading, and get a real taste of the book. And then you'll find out more about it, more about me, and then you could go purchase it anywhere online that you purchase books. All right, I'm Robyn Vogel, and this is Come Back to Love. We are on KMET Radio. We air Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and I am so delighted to be here with you today. Okay, we're going to move into the hidden cost of overgiving. And I want you to really think about whether you are someone who overgives. It's actually so common in our culture to overgive, to keep doing things for people. And we do it naturally because we learned how to do it, given the 3 root causes that I just shared with you. But also we don't notice it because everyone's doing it. It's really hard to notice. And when you're someone who is overgiving, there is a real cost. And I'm going to talk about those right now. So I'm going to spend a few minutes on something that doesn't get said out loud enough. That overgiving has a cost, not just to you. And this is the piece I wanted to say, not just to you, but to the people you're in relationship with. I know that sounds counterintuitive. You're giving, you're generous. How could that be a problem? Well, here's how. When you give without receiving, when you consistently overfunction in a relationship, you create an imbalance. An imbalance over time creates distance, even when it's dressed up as love. Here's what actually happens to the other person, whether it's a partner, a lover, a friend, a child, a parent. The person receiving all that giving starts to feel, whether they can articulate it or not, like they can never keep up, like they owe you something. They can never fully repay. Like the relationship has a subtle ledger that's always tilted in your favor. Some people rise to meet that. They try harder. But many, and this is the painful part, start to pull away. Not because they don't care, but because the weight of receiving without being allowed to give feels suffocating in its own way. And then there's this. When you overgive, you're not actually being fully present in the relationship. You're managing it. You're constantly managing it. What do they need? What do they want? You're making up stories about what they need and they want. And then you're giving it to them before you even have had a conversation with them about what they might want or need, or that they don't want anything or need anything in that moment. There's really a difference between loving someone and managing them. Managing looks like, again, anticipating their needs before they ask, smoothing every rough edge, making sure everything is okay, never letting things get messy or hard or uncomfortable. And guess what? That's where the vulnerability lies. It feels like love, it looks like love, but underneath it, if you're honest, it's control. Not malicious control, not conscious control, but control nonetheless. Because if you can keep giving, keep managing, keep making sure everything is okay, then nothing can go wrong. Nothing can surprise you. Nothing and nobody can leave. Can you feel how exhausting that is? Oh my gosh, it's so exhausting, I have to say, because I used to be a chronic overgiver. So here's the deepest cost of all. When you overgive, you deprive the people you love of the opportunity to love you back. Really sit with that. Reflect. A compliment every time you say, I'm fine, when you're not. Every time you refuse help, every time you immediately reciprocate a gift before you've even let it land. You are robbing the people who love you of the chance to care for you. And you're robbing yourself of the experience of being cared for, which, if you're honest, is what you've been longing for all along. The love you are working so hard to earn through giving. To earn it through giving. Just take that in for a moment. It's like you have to, like I've been saying, like you have to earn it. You have to give somebody a reason to love you. That love, the same love you keep blocking by not allowing yourself to receive, is exactly what you yourself want to receive. That is the wound at the center of overgiving. And it breaks my heart a little every time I see it, because it is so common and so unnecessary and so healable. If that's a word I can use, it's so healable. You can heal it. I'm going to talk about how today. This is Robyn Vogel. We are on KMET Radio. This is Come Back to Love. The art of receiving is the piece, the missing piece here. So let's talk about how you're actually going to change this. Because I want to be practical with you today. I love to be practical actually every day. I want to give you something that you can use and not just think about. The art of receiving is a skill. Like any skill, it feels awkward at first, like learning to use your non-dominant hand. Clunky, uncomfortable, like you're doing it wrong. But you're not doing it wrong, you're just doing it new. You're just doing it new. Here are 3 practices I give my clients when we begin this work. You can also find some really good information again in my book, Come Back to Love, A Path to Healing. The first is what I call the 2-second pause. The next time someone offers you something, a compliment, a gesture, help, care, an expression of love, before you deflect, before you go into like automation, push it away, minimize, pause for a second. Pause for 2 seconds. Just 2 seconds of not doing anything. In fact, in those 2 seconds, take a breath. Let the offering land in your body before your mind starts managing it. This is such a big piece because it's so hard to take in. And that's why we don't sometimes take it in. So pause for 2 seconds. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to have a breakthrough moment. You don't have to pause long. Just a moment to take a breath and actually receive rather than immediately deflect. 2 seconds, that's the whole practice. Second practice is learning to say thank you and stop. This is a big one. I learned this one really, really well. Not thank you, but you really didn't have to. Not thank you, let me get to the next one or the next thing, or now I have to walk away and do something else. Not thank you, I'm sorry to be such a bother. Just thank you. Full stop. Let that be enough. It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel incomplete, like you've just left something unfinished. That discomfort is old wiring firing. It's not the truth, it's just a habit. Thank you, full stop, practice. Practice it, learning it today. Start practicing it today. Anytime somebody hands you something, a cup of coffee behind the Starbucks bar, thank you. Somebody says, wow, you have a really nice smile, thank you. Whatever it is, just practice saying thank you as a full sentence and don't say anything else. It's amazing, actually, the response that you'll get. You will see. I practice this one often, several times a day. The third practice, and this one is deeper, is to begin noticing what you feel when you receive. Not what you think, but what you feel. Because for some people who struggle to receive, there is a feeling underneath the deflection. Sometimes it's guilt, sometimes it's sadness, a grief for all the times you needed something and it wasn't there. Sometimes it's a kind of tender opening that feels almost unbearable because it reminds you of how much you've been longing for exactly this. That feeling, whatever it is for you, is not dangerous. It's information. It's the part of you that's been waiting a very long time to be allowed to simply receive. I want to end this section with something I say to my clients often, and I want to say it directly to you now, to my listeners. You are allowed to be loved without earning it. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to let someone take care of you without immediately figuring out how to pay them back. You are allowed to be, for a moment, the one who receives. It's not a weakness. It's one of the bravest things a self-sufficient person can do. So take a breath. Take in these words as a way of practicing receiving. And we're going to go into another practice, but I want to just give you a moment to take a breath and receive these words, because that is a practice of receiving. And even if you're listening and you're feeling thankful for some of the things I'm sharing today, you can just say to yourself or say out loud, thank you. I'm not asking in this moment for gratitude, but just as a practice, just as a practice, thank you. Such beautiful 2 words to use. And what an amazing shift in your life when you stop overgiving and you learn to receive. And then the give-receive comes into balance. I'm Robyn Vogel. I'm a psychotherapist, a love and intimacy coach, and this is Come Back to Love Radio on KMET. I'm so happy to be here with you every week on Thursdays, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And we will continue, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Thank you for tuning in every week that you have. Thank you for finding the show on podcast platforms and listening after we're live in Southern California. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure and an honor to share the practices and the work of Come Back to Love. All right, we're going to move into another practice before I let you go today. This one is simple, and it might be the most challenging. It might be the most challenging thing that you've been asked all week so far. And here it is. Sometime in the next 24 hours, I want to ask you for something. Not something big, not something that requires a grand gesture or a vulnerable conversation, but something small. Ask someone to pass you something. Ask a colleague to help you with a task. Ask a friend if they have 5 minutes to talk. Let someone hold the door for you and say thank you without rushing through it. And when they give it to you, use the 2-second pause. Let it land. Say thank you. Full stop. And then notice what happens in your body. Notice the impulse to deflect or reciprocate. Just notice it and choose something different. Just this once. That's it. One small act of receiving. The whole practice of coming back to love begins with this. Learning that you are worth receiving from. Not because of what you give, but because of who you are. So I'm going to invite you into this practice. I'm going to say it one more time so it's clear. And then I'm going to talk about the deserving piece for a moment. But the practice, the invitation, as I like to call it, sometime in the next 24 hours. So sometime before Friday afternoon, Friday evening, I want you to literally ask for something. Because so far I've been talking about like people that give or gift, I like to say, gift to you, that you're just going to receive. But that's different, right? The next step is actually that you ask for something to receive. So again, it doesn't have to be something big. It can be something really small. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture, like I said, just something small. You're practicing what I like to say, and I'm not the founder of this expression, but somebody I know is, and he likes to say, low rep, small rep, high reward. So asking for something or doing something small that has a significant contribution to you in starting a new habit and a new pattern in your life and a new behavior in your life. Something small can have significant impact for you. So low rep, or you can say small rep, high reward. High reward to you changing the way you've been moving through the world in survival mode and instead be receiving love. And I know that all of you listening would like to receive more love. So the small rep in the next 24 hours, the invitation is again to ask for something. It might be, like I said, just ask someone to pass you something at the table you're sitting at or in your office. But asking even a little bit more than that, asking a colleague or a friend to help you with a task or a neighbor. Yesterday, I asked my neighbor to mow my lawn. I'm always asking for support in with my house and in my yard. It gets so unwieldy. Ask a friend if they have 5 minutes to talk because you have something on your mind that you just want to talk about and you'd like someone to listen. Think about something right now as you're listening to me right here, right now. Think of something that you would like to receive. Think about who you can ask, someone that feels safe, and ask them. And then you're going to use the practices we've learned here today that we've been talking about. You're going to use the 2-second pause. You're going to let it land and say thank you. And then stop. And then notice what happens in your body. Notice if you feel uncomfortable. Notice if you feel guilty. Notice if you feel like you just want to run away, your skin is crawling. And then take a breath. And let that land. One small act of receiving. This whole practice of receiving, honestly, can change your life. Because when you deflect, when you put it aside, when you just say, okay, thank you, and keep going or run away, it's a way of saying to the world that you don't deserve what you're being gifted. And again, we talked right in the beginning of this show about why that is. It developed as a child. It happened when you were a child for good reasons. It was the family dynamics and whatever was going on in your family that had you shift into survival mode, not really needing anything, not rocking the boat, keeping things steady, being in control of that or perceiving that you're in control of that. All good reasons why you learned this, but as you open to receiving and continue practicing, you will change your life, honestly, because you'll start attracting people actually that know how to give and take with balance. You'll stop attracting takers who are seeking out those that give. And I know you want to stop repeating those unhealthy patterns of relationship over and over again. It is time to change. It's time to open up, to receive love, and to find the balance there because you deserve it just because of who you are. It's a really big piece, and I know it takes a long time to come back to the self-love and to the divine being that you truly are, but I want to plant that seed right now because it's true. So in the last 2 weeks, I'm so curious what's been landing for you. If you recognize yourself in high-functioning survival mode last week and in overgiving and not receiving as much today, I want you to know that there's a place to go to deepen this work. I mentioned this last week. I'm going to mention it again today June 21st through 25th, I'm leading a 5-day immersive workshop at the highly esteemed and beloved Kripalu Yoga Center for Well-Being and Health. It's such an amazing, beautiful place, respected retreat center. It's in the Berkshire Mountains of Western Massachusetts. Easy access to the Albany Airport, the Hartford Airport, or even the airport in Boston. The workshop is called Rewire for Love, Healing the Blocks to Authentic Connection. And everything we've been talking about on this show, the survival mode, the overgiving, the walls we build, the love we block, that is exactly the work we are going to do together. Not just intellectually, but in the body, in your nervous system, in the way you actually show up in life. You'll leave the workshop different. I have watched it happen more times than I can count. So June 21st to 25th, Kripalu in the Berkshires. Space is limited. It's coming up very soon. It's coming up in a couple weeks. Take a look inside your heart and see if this is one of your next steps. I would love to have you. Feel free always to reach out to me. You can go to my website, comebacktolove.com, and click on contact and reach out to me. Ask me any questions that you'd like about the upcoming workshop. I'm really excited to be teaching there. You can also go to kripalu.org and search Robyn Vogel and find out more information about the workshop Rewire for Love. If something in you has been saying yes to this work while you've been listening these past 2 weeks, trust that yes. It's the most alive part of you leading the way. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening in to Come Back to Love Radio. If something in this episode touched you, if you want to explore this work more personally, again, I just mentioned coming to Kripalu, which I know is a big leap, but hey, you never know. I've had people show up at my workshops and retreats just from listening to one radio show, one episode. But I also do offer a free 30-minute private conversation, just you and me. No agenda, except to understand where you are and what might be possible. You can book your session at comebacktolove.com. Just click book, 30 minutes. You deserve to be loved, not for what you do, not for how much you give, not for how little you need, but for exactly who you are. I invite you to let that in. I'm Robyn Vogel. Be gentle with yourself. Love is possible, and it starts with coming back to you. I'll see you next week.